Welcome to Chalkhill News. We're here with Stuart Lawrence. We're going to ask him some questions.
Thank you for joining us, Stuart. What made you want to become a teacher and author?
Thank you for allowing me to come and be part of your school today. The reason why I became a teacher was a bit of an accident, really. I didn't ever think I'd become a teacher. I remember being in primary school and my primary school teacher saying to me, Stuart, one day you'll be a really good teacher. And I thought to myself at that age, I don't want to become a teacher. I want to do so many other amazing things other than become a teacher. And it wasn't until I finished university, I was working at the Home Office, as a civil servant, and then 9/11 happened, which is when the planes went into the building and there was a bit of confusion in the world. And I realised then that no one would ever know the work that I was doing as working at the Home Office as a civil servant. And then I started to think, well, what impact I'm going to have in the world being a civil servant? Like, who was I going to help and who was going to know that I was helping them? And then I'd made a decision to stop doing that. And then I went to a party at my family's house, and my head teacher of my school, who was a family friend, said, Stuart, your mum tells me that you're not doing much at the moment. You've just finished doing a graphics degree. All the girls at my school keep on asking me, can I put a graphics course on? Can we do graphics inside the school? Would you like to come and teach the girls about graphics? I thought about it for a while. I thought, hey, do you know what? Why not? How hard could it be? And then I did it. I became a school teacher, and it's been the best experience I've ever had because I get to help young people through the thing that we all have to do when we're young, which is go to school. And in being that part of that, I get to teach them about my favourite subject, which is graphic products. And hopefully to pass on that enthusiasm, that drive, that determination I have to make sure that everyone loves graphics onto other people. And yeah, that's what we did. So we did a GCSE course. I then created an A-level course. So girls would come in and learning about graphics and then going to university. And I know for a fact there's a couple of them that have started graphic degree courses. Some of them have started their own companies doing graphic design as well. So it's good to know that I passed on my enthusiasm for graphics to other people. And hopefully they'll pass it on to other people as well.
What do you enjoy most about working with young people?
What I enjoy most about working with young people? I suppose that everyone's really individual and different. I think that's the best thing. And I appreciate that everyone's different, and I value the difference that everyone can bring. And I like to see the interesting questions and thought processes that young people have as well. I think that's quite interesting. And I think working and being around young people makes me feel young as well. It reminds me of what it was like to be a child, which I absolutely miss really desperately. But I don't totally get it that when you're your age, you just think, oh man, I bet all the adults are having the best fun and doing the best stuff. But it's not. We're not really, because we've got so many things to do. There's so much jobs and so much responsibility, and so many people rely on us. And when you're a young person, you don't have none of that stuff. All you have to do is worry about is going to school, who your friends are, what you're having for lunch, what you're going to do when you finish coming home from school. And I definitely would rather be back there. I would.
What advice would you give to children who see or experience racism?
First things first is that if you don't feel comfortable talking about things, or you feel that it's too hard for you to deal with by yourself, especially at school, to go and tell an adult. It could be any adult, and ask them to help you, explain to them what's happened and ask for some help. That's the first thing I say. But if you can feel like you can deal with it yourself, I suppose the first question I would ask someone is, why? Why do you feel it's okay for you to say what you're saying? And then whatever they say next, and I then would say, well, you do realise what you said has made me feel really upset. And there's nothing I can do about my skin colour or my religion or my culture. Not that I'd want to do anything about it anyway, because that makes me who I am, and I really like that. But why do you think that I would want to change it? Because obviously by you saying these things, you think I should be something different than what I am. And like I've said to you beforehand, everyone's allowed to be different. Everyone's allowed to be themselves. And we should never try to force someone to be or to do exactly what we are. And that for me is really important to know. So that's what I would say. Definitely first things first, try and find someone to help you to talk to that person, because obviously that person has a different viewpoint to most people inside your school and most people in your community, in your environment, where they all believe that it doesn't matter what your skin colour is, it doesn't matter about your culture, it doesn't matter about your religion. As long as you're a good person, you're trying to do good things, then that's the most important thing. So that's what I would say. But it's a very big, difficult subject as well, because sometimes people say things to people, and sometimes the person that's being told that thing or said that thing to doesn't understand why that person's saying it and doesn't understand how it affects them. And maybe someone else around the table or someone else in that environment can see what's going on. And then maybe that's when also it's important that we have upstanders and people that will advocate for other people, to speak up for people who maybe don't know what's going on. So that's really important. So if you hear or see anyone acting inappropriate, it's also your responsibility to say to that person, if you can, why are you doing that? Because that's not the right thing to do. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then again, finding a trusted adult and telling them what's happened and asking them for some help.
What was it like growing up with Stephen as your big brother?
So having Stephen as my big brother was absolutely amazing. I tell people all the time, he was such a loving, caring person, and everyone liked him. And because everyone liked him, it made me feel really good about myself that he was my big brother. Also, he was really good at everything that he did as well. So he was good at sports, he was good at school as well, which again, as his younger brother, I just wanted to be as good as he was, which made me try really hard at school, really hard at sports as well. But he was such a fun, loving character, very caring. And if I had any problems or issues, I know I could go to him and speak to him, and he would give me the best advice. So not to have him around was really hard for the first couple of years. But I'm now an older brother for my younger sister. I've got a younger sister who's 5 years younger than me. So I've just tried to be the best big brother I can be for her, because Stephen was such a great big brother for me.
What's the most important lesson you learned in life so far?
I suppose it goes back to the golden rule of life for me, which is my mum always used to say to me, Stuart, you treat other people like how you'd like to be treated yourself. And that was always quite confusing as a young person, because I'd be like, well, if I'm nice to someone, does it mean they're going to be nice back? And she said, yeah, well, 9 times out of 10, they usually will be nice back if you're nice to someone. And then I say, well, if I'm not nice to someone, does it mean that they won't be nice to me? And she said, yeah, that probably would happen as well. So I had an idea that I always want people to be nice to me. So if I'm always super nice and super friendly and super cheerful, hopefully in return, people are super nice and super cheerful to me as well. So that for me is the most important thing, so just to be kind and nice to people. And in return, hopefully they'll be kind and nice to you as well.
Why is it still important to talk about Stephen Lawrence today?
Yeah, and this is why, again, I'm so grateful for you and your school for doing all the amazing work that you're doing, because it's 30 years now, over 30 years since we've lost Stephen. And my mum always says that it's important about legacy. She doesn't ever want to know that because we've lost Stephen in such a horrific way, that it doesn't amount to anything and it doesn't help anyone and it doesn't make anything better. So hopefully that's what we're trying to do now. We're just trying to make other people's lives better and make the world a bit better for everyone. So to learn the lessons from what went wrong with Stephen when Stephen passed away, so they don't happen again, is really important to us as a family. And I'm hopeful that by learning those lessons and making the world a bit better place, and ensuring that the institutions and the statutory bodies like the police and schools and hospital, all those places that we have to use, is for everyone. It isn't just for one type of person or one group of people. It's for everyone, and everyone should be treated exactly the same as well. So that's why I think it's still important to talk about what happened, so that we learn the lessons and then we do better in the future.
If Stephen were here today, what do you think he would say to us?
I think he would say that how grateful he is for you remembering him and all the work that you're doing around him. I think he'd be a little bit embarrassed, not too embarrassed, because he quite liked the limelight and liked to be front and centre of things. So he wouldn't feel too shy about it. But I do think he'd be very happy to know that great work and great things have been done in his name, and that hopefully the world is becoming a bit better and a bit kinder to each other because of what's happened. So that's what I think he would say.
How can young people make a difference in the world?
Just by being who you are and doing what you're doing. I think that's really important to understand that sometimes as adults, we think we know the best answers to questions and the best way to do things, but we don't always. And if we can find time and space to listen and hear what you guys think and then respond accordingly and do those things, that's going to be good for you. Because I realised the other day when I was speaking to my own son, who's now 14, that 14-year-old Theo isn't the same as 14-year-old Stuart, because they were two different times and two different eras. So for me to think that I know what he's going through or what his life is like, I don't, because he wasn't 14. I'm not 14 now. So I tried my best to listen and to hear what he's got to say, try to adapt and to be the person he needs me to be today, rather than assuming and telling him, I know what it's like, so therefore you should do this. I think if we do that a bit better, a bit more, then again, the world would be a better place. If we listened, and I said that earlier, didn't I, about having two ears and one mouth, because listening is a skill, and then listening and responding appropriately is also the next skill after listening to someone keenly. So that's what I definitely say. We just need to trust you all a bit more as young people, that you do have the right answers and you do know the best things for today for yourselves.
That's all we have for today. Thank you, Stuart, for visiting us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye!
Bye!